Defensively, I don't know if there's very much to go as far as a schematic solution for the Falcons if you don't have Miles and Jadeveon and JOK. I'm just being straight honest with you. There's not much of a solution there. You will get scored on if you don't have those three players playing, because there's not much you can do schematically to stop what they're going to do if you don't have the best three players in your front seven. Just straight up. That's just a fact. This is a fact. Any NFL team, that's a fact. So what you can do to mitigate that, if you are out there without that, is all right. So how will the Browns beat the Atlanta Falcons? What is this matchup? Well, I'm here to break it down. I watched all of the Atlanta Falcons games to prepare for this. Also, obviously, I've watched all of the Cleveland Browns games. I've talked to multiple people. I have another guest on this show. And we're going to talk about what it's going to take for the Browns to beat the Atlanta Falcons. We're going to start with the Browns on the defensive side of the ball, because this is where things get interesting right now. I don't know if the official injury report is out as of like 3 p.m. today. But what I do know is that Denzel Ward was back at individual practices, drills, so limited, and same thing with JOK. Myles Garrett did not practice, and I'm not sure about Jadeveon Clowney. If news came out about him, I'm sure somebody will put it down in the comment section below. But right now, the Browns have a lot of people on the injury report is basically the thing, right? They got Joe Bitonio on there. He's going to play. Taven Bryant, I don't know. Hamstring, he might not play. He might play. Jadeveon Clowney, ankle, I don't know. He might not play. He might play. Jack Conklin going to play. Amari Cooper going to play. Myles Garrett, maybe. Joe Haig, probably not. Ronnie Harrison, probably. JOK, maybe. Isaiah Thomas, more than likely. And Denzel Ward, who knows? Who knows? I'm leaning towards more than likely he plays since he practiced today. Limited, though. So, yeah, that's the injury report situation. The Falcons have Cordarrelle Patterson on there. And if you ain't familiar with Cordarrelle Patterson, he's good, y'all. He's a really good running back now. He's not like Nick Chubb level, but he's probably on the same tier as like a Najee or Joe Mixon, in my opinion. I think he's just as good as those guys. For those of you who remember him as a wide receiver or a kick returner, he still returns kicks, but he's really good now at running the ball. He's downhill thumper kind of guy, real physical running. He's been really impressive there. So I guess that's where we'll start with the Browns' defensive game plan. They have to be more stout in the interior of the line of scrimmage than they were last week versus Pittsburgh, right? One of the reasons why Pittsburgh was able to have those two scoring drives on the Cleveland Browns so easily was because the Browns weren't able to do anything up the middle with the run. Now, luckily, they catch a little bit of a break, but it's not going to be much of a break if you don't have Jadeveon Clowney and you don't have Myles Garrett, right? I think that's going to make the difference for this game defensively. Why? A multitude of reasons. One, I think Cordarrelle Patterson's at his best when he's able to go downhill. So if he's able to get space to get down in the middle, but more than likely it's going to be outside zone where he's going to shine the most. He can go up the middle, obviously, but you need a little bit more time for him to get the momentum so he can be effective up the middle there. He's really good at that outside zone stuff. He's pretty hard to stop once he gets going downhill. And that's one of the things I think the Browns defense has to worry about. Now, again, if Jadeveon Clowney's out there, I think the Browns defensive life is easier because Jadeveon's really good at shutting that down. But also, the other element of the run game is Marcus Mariota. You're going to see a ton of pistol sets, right? You know, when we play Lamar Jackson, there's a ton of pistol. It's going to be like that, except for they run more of what Kevin Stefanski runs out of pistol. Like when Deshaun Watson's out there in December, we'll see a lot of these pistol formations that they're running in Atlanta. But not right now with Jacoby Brissett because Jacoby's just not mobile. But they're going to run a lot of pistol. They're going to run a lot of RPOs, read options out that pistol, right? And if it's just Myles Garrett in the game, they're going to run tons of RPOs and read options in this game because that's how you can take Myles out of it, by making him the point man on that RPO. But if Jadeveon Clowney's in the game, then that makes their life a lot more difficult because Jadeveon, one, he's really good at defending that kind of stuff, right? He doesn't get bitten into the trap as much as Myles Garrett does in the run game. So he's more disciplined. So they're not going to be able to run it towards the side. And since Marcus Mariota is a right-handed quarterback, naturally a lot of those read options are going to be towards the right side of the field, towards Clowney. So he would be the point man that would put him in a disadvantage situation there. JOK being healthy is going to matter a lot. Look, we're going to see a ton of read option. We're going to see a ton of outside zone. We're going to see a ton of sprint right pockets. We're going to see a ton of mobile pockets here, right? It's going to be a lot of play action, a lot of moving the ball right on the go. A lot of the stuff that Pittsburgh did that worked on you, they're going to do here because they run they don't run a similar style offense because Pittsburgh really don't got identity. This is a more competent version of what Pittsburgh tried to do last week. So you need to be better than you were last week, and you weren't great last week. So that is the defense's thing, right? That's what I would be worried about. Drake London, he's really good. He almost gets utilized more than Kyle Pitts. Like Kyle Pitts, they try to get him involved. It's a concerted effort to get him involved, but it never naturally comes throughout the course of the game, at least through the 3 games that I've watched of the Atlanta Falcons this year, that Kyle Pitts gets the ball. It's more or less, hey, we need to get Kyle Pitts the ball, so we're just going to force Kyle Pitts the ball like 3 times in the beginning of the drive here or something like that. So he'll have that section. I'm not as worried about Kyle Pitts as I am about Drake London because Drake London, he's been hurting defenses in the exact areas in which the Browns defense has struggled, right? Them 3rd and 20s, them 20-yard chunks that the Browns have been woefully incompetent at stopping at times in the secondary. He's the guy that hurt you. His real quick feet on him. He's real light on his feet, and he's pretty agile for a guy who's his size. He's not a big dude, but he is a tall dude. And he's a big target. He's a good red zone option. He's somebody you want to watch. I would rather the Browns put Greg Newsome on a guy like Drake London than Denzel Ward because the feet, Greg has the best feet on the team. I think he has even better feet than Denzel Ward. And I don't think he's going to get lost with as much as Denzel would on the boundary there. So I would prefer Denzel sees Drake London more often not Denzel. Greg Newsome sees Drake London more often than not, but we'll see. But now we get to the last part of this Atlanta Falcons offense from the Browns defensive attack. That's Marcus Mariota. Now, I think the Browns and the Falcons are very similar teams this year, especially in this 11-game stretch where the Browns don't have a quarterback. I think these two teams are very close to being similar because defensively they have some of the same flaws as each other. Offensively, they have some of the flaws that each other has. But the biggest difference from both of these teams have been the quarterback position, where Jacoby Brissett's been able to give you the same amount of big-time throws. He has not given you the same amount of turnover-worthy plays as Marcus Mariota. I believe he's 10th in the NFL, highest in that margin, in that area. So a lot of turnover plays. And if you watch the Falcons play this year, there's always a play in a game where Marcus just does something with the football that's like crazy wild. Now, it's not a guarantee that he will, but this has been a pattern that has happened all year with him. And that's what the Browns defense's job is going to be. Hey, look, if you're not going to be able to be at full strength, if you're not going to have Myles and Clowney out there, which I don't know what the possibility of that is right now, then you need to capitalize on the opportunities for a turnover that, statistically speaking, Marcus Mariota is very likely to give you. Okay, he will fumble. He will throw an interception. He will do something to turn the ball over at some point in this game. You need to get those, right? The more turnovers, the better. If you get +2 in turnover margin here, you're going to win this game, regardless of who plays defensively. That's going to be the goal, right? They're going to give you opportunities to get turnovers. The Atlanta Falcons will do this. You got to take advantage of them. If you don't take advantage of those turnover opportunities, we're going to be like this, clench butt cheeks in the fourth quarter again, right? If you don't get those opportunities, you're not going to set yourself up for success because the Falcons can put up points. You know, I think they can put up points better than Pittsburgh, better than Carolina, better than the Jets, right? Of all the teams you played so far, this is the best offense that you have played. And this is not a team you want to get in a shootout with. So how do you avoid that? Time of possession on offense, being able to capitalize on the turnovers. Defensively, I don't know if there's very much to go as far as a schematic solution for the Falcons if you don't have Miles and Jadeveon and Jay. Okay, I'm just being straight honest with you. There's not much of a solution there. You will get scored on if you don't have those three players playing, because there's not much you can do schematically to stop what they're going to do if you don't have the best three players in your front seven. Just straight up. That's just a fact. This is a fact. Any NFL team, that's a fact. So what you can do to mitigate that, if you are out there without that, is when they give you opportunities for turnovers in the secondary, you get them. When they give you opportunities for turnovers of fumble or whatever it is, you get them. You gotta find a way to at least be +1, but preferably +2. If the defense can do that, I feel good about the offense's ability to win this game. Now let's flip sides of the ball. All right, so this Atlanta Falcons defense, I said, it's kind of similar to the Browns defense, where they were expected to be much better than they're performing right now, but they haven't been performing well. They've been pretty bad at giving up chunks. They've given up a lot of chunks. They've blown it. Well, they didn't blow multiple leads. I think they only blew the one lead week 1 in the fourth quarter. It was like a 17-point lead to the Saints, who are not good offensively. They also came back from a lead. I believe it was 28-3 versus the Rams, but then Marcus Mariota threw a pretty bad interception at the end of that game. And then if we go to week 3, they actually won that game, but Marcus had a fumble. Again, Marcus going to give you an opportunity to get a turnover. You got to get him. Okay. But offensively, when you're talking about attacking this Falcons defense, this is going to be about isolating Grady Jarrett, knowing where he's going to be, being able to slide in pass protection to the right spot. And also it's going to be about attacking outside zone. I don't think they're good at stopping it. I know that A.J. Terrell's a pretty good run defending corner, but I would take the best run defending corner any day of the week against Nick Chubb, and I think Nick Chubb's going to win that battle 10 times out of 10. He's just not a normal running back. So that being what the matchup is, I think the Browns will be able to run the ball against the Atlanta Falcons. I think once they get that going, it's going to be interesting to see the matchups that they try to force A.J. Terrell into, because A.J. Terrell, he's an interesting corner. And like I said, we talk about shutdown corners like they just shut down against everybody. But this is more about, shutdown corners are more about matchups than anything in the NFL, especially. And it's no different this week, right? A.J. Terrell's a really good corner. He started off the year bad because he was forcing red zone matchups with guys who are the exact weakness that he has, right? Allen Robinson, who's real quick feet, physical at the line of scrimmage, and then Cooper Kupp, who obviously some of the best feet ever, and then real physical at the line of scrimmage. And in week 1, it was Mike Thomas. And those guys give A.J. Terrell problems, I think, because they're really quick-footed, which means that they can separate, and he's not the best recovery speed guy. He's good hops guy. He's good ball tracking guy. He will get some of the most impressive pass breakups that you will ever see. But he's not recovery speed guy. You know how Greg Newsome, he can recover speed like that? That's not A.J. Terrell. A.J. Terrell is more like Denzel Ward in this respect, where Denzel's not going to recover real fast, but he's just going to stay on top of you. And if he gets an opportunity to get his hand up and make a jump ball play, he's going to make a tremendous play on it. That being said, David Bell probably not going to get open versus A.J. Terrell. Donovan Peoples-Jones, keep him far away from A.J. Terrell, because Donovan Peoples-Jones runs slow routes sometimes, and A.J. Terrell will hop them. But Amari Cooper probably going to be able to win against A.J. Terrell, not all the time, but, often enough to where you can feel comfortable going to him. So I think Coop's going to be able to get open there. When you're talking about Casey Hayward, their other corner, and they have some decent safeties as well, it gets interesting. Casey Hayward, he's in that weird path where he could be cooked, but he's not cooked yet, but he's almost there. We'll see what happens there, and we'll see how they defend the Cleveland Browns also, right? When you talk about the Browns as a team that everybody likes to go heavy boxes with. And the danger with that is that you have to play man on the outside. If you're playing man on the outside and you got AJ Terrell and Amari Cooper, I like that matchup. And even if you run man, or even if you run heavy box against the Cleveland Browns, the Browns have proven they can still run the ball on it. So I don't even know how effective it is to do that anymore. I don't expect the offense to have major problems this week versus the Atlanta Falcons defense. Grady Jarrett is somebody to watch out for. He's really, really good. But I think the Browns' interior offensive line is really good. I don't think they're going to let Ethan Posick get one-on-one matched up with Grady Jarrett often. So I feel like offensively they're in a good spot, but I don't think the offense alone is going to be able to win you this game. I think they're going to need something. Whether it's turnovers, whether it's an excessive amount of 3 and outs from the defense, right? That's what it's going to take. Either incredible defensive performance, which Atlanta's pretty high up there when it comes to points scored this year. I don't expect that from this Browns defense this week. Or +2 on turnovers, which I think is doable, right? If Atlanta scores 28 points, but you're +2 on turnovers, I feel confident about the Browns' ability to get to that low 30s number, or at least limit the game enough and suffocate the game enough to where Atlanta can't get to 28 points, right? I think that's how the Browns win this. Just take the ball away, and then when you have the ball, suffocate the time, and then get points, obviously. I think that's the Browns' path to victory. But I want to bring in another perspective just to kind of check my work on this game. One of the things I wanted to ask you from your perspective is, going into this game, if you had to feel really, really strong about something that the Falcons have going into this matchup specifically against the Browns, what is it that you feel strongest about?
I feel strongest about their offense being able to continue what we've seen these first couple of games, where they've ran a pretty balanced attack. It's been primarily spearheaded by Cordero Patterson, who was the NFC Offensive Player of the Week this past year, coming off a 140-yard game against the Seahawks. And they've done a pretty good job getting Drake London featured in the passing game. And I'm hoping that they can build off of the Week 3 performance for Kyle Pitts, where he led the team in receiving as well. And I just like that combination of playmakers going up against this Browns team that may be a little bit depleted up front. And there aren't too many times over the years where Falcon fans and myself have been able to say that, the Falcons have an advantage along the line of scrimmage with their offensive line going up against another team's defensive line. But if the Browns are sort of depleted up front with Myles Garrett injuries and Jadeveon Clowney injuries, and already having not necessarily a world-class defensive tackle group, I do feel like the Falcons offense should be able to maintain their momentum these first 3 games and be able to put up a lot of points and sort of control the flow of this game.
All right, 2 quick questions about the offense. One, I noticed you guys go out of a lot of pistol sets there in this new offense, a lot of read option stuff with Marcus Mariota. Is that kind of the bread and butter there, where it's like, hey, we're going to try to occupy if Myles plays by making him the read man on those read options, and then kind of just playing off of whatever he does?
Yeah, that's a big part of the Falcons offense, utilizing that pistol, utilizing that play action passing game, and trying to get Mariota involved in the run game to sort of keep defenses honest. And I think that's been a big part of the Falcons offensive line looking a lot better than I think a lot of people thought they would going into the season, because defenses are so focused on the running game and Mariota's legs that they're not able to sort of pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. So that is certainly something that I think will be a significant part of their game plan.
And then the one thing with Marcus Mariota I've noticed is that almost in every game there's been like a big turnover at a critical, or like a questionable throw or something like that. Do you think this is just him in a new offense getting, even though this is the same offensive coordinator he had in Tennessee, do you think this is more or less he's just getting used to the personnel, or do you think this is just part of the package with Marcus?
All of the above at this point in time. Yeah, I do think some of it is knocking 2 years of rust off, basically being the backup with the Raiders the last couple of years. And, I think some of it is sort of getting more familiarized in this offense. He did play under Arthur Smith in 2019, but basically only started 5 or 6 games that year. So it's not as if this offense is second hat to him. And then, you obviously have different playmakers here in Atlanta than he's ever played with. And I just also think it's just kind of the nature of Marcus Mariota. I kind of jokingly referred to it the other week. It's like a roller coaster. You're just gonna have to ride the roller coaster. You're gonna get some high highs, you're gonna get some low lows, and hopefully it just all balances out in the Falcons' favor. But it's been kind of hit and miss. I would say mostly good through the first three games, but those turnovers and those mistakes seem to just come at the worst times for him.
Yeah, he had the fumbled snap last week, right? Where it's right there. On the other side of this, as a Falcons fan, or when you talk to Falcons fan, when they talk about this game, what specifically are they worried about? Hey, if the Browns start doing this, I'm really worried about the Falcons' chances to win the game.
I think it's really about the Browns running game. The last time the Falcons played the Browns in 2018, the Browns put up over 200 yards rushing. Nick Chubb had like 176 yards rushing. I think he had like an 80-yard touchdown or 99, something ridiculous yard touchdown run in that game. And I just think, the strength of the Falcons is their offense. And so if the Browns can basically do what I think the Falcons will try to do, which is kind of control the clock with their ground game, and sort of expose the Falcons defense and keep the Falcons offense off the field with time of possession and running the football, I think that's going to be the Achilles heel for this Falcon team heading into Sunday. So I think really it's Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, that Browns offensive attack and that offensive line, just sort of pounding the ball down their throats is probably the scariest thing about this Browns team.
Definitely. Well, Aaron, thank you for joining us for real quick. Let them know where to find you.
Of course, you can find me on Monday through Friday, Locked On Falcons on your preferred podcast platform, including YouTube. And if you enjoy snarky tweets about the Falcons, you can follow me on Twitter at FalcFans. That's FalcFans.
All right, but that's it for this week's preview. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. You have a great day. Have a good night.